Welcome to the next episode of KapVista Klips. Today we're here with Adam from Boatingo. How are you?
Oh, great. Thanks, Daniel.
It's good to have you. I'm keen to get into what you're doing. But where are you at the moment?
I'm at the Jom Tien Marina in Thailand, which is just south of Pattaya. It's the biggest marina in Southeast Asia. It's about 400 boats here.
Oh wow, wow.
There's
Um,
100 charter boats actually. Happens to be run by an Aussie, which is kind of handy. But yeah, it's a very busy marina. 30,000 people a month go through here.
wow, wow. So that's
Yeah.
probably and that will tie in perfectly to what you're doing, and we'll get into that in a second. But let's
Sure.
go into you. I want to find out about your background, your history, your experiences. How did you get to this point? Tell us everything.
Okay. Well, it goes way back. I grew up on Sydney Harbour, in the harbour almost with my dad sailing since I was like one or something ridiculous. So yeah, I grew up sailing, um, racing with the old man. He was building boats, racing them. We had power boats, sail every kind of different craft. I spent every every school holiday, every Christmas holiday, basically on a boat. Um, so yeah, that's sort of the background. And yeah, I've been involved in tourism and hospitality, and operating vessels for charter for close to 35 years now. So I started building island resorts and doing different stuff in Fiji when I was 20 actually. So yeah, in those times I was moving cargo and passengers and all sorts of things. So I've been operating vessels and involved in tourism for quite a long time. Yeah, and I have professional qualifications as a skipper as well. I That was a bit of a formality actually going to study, but that's okay. At least gives you a little bit of regimentation of how things work and operationally, and get become a little more professional about things. So yeah, I've got a very holistic view of the whole marine industry. In tourism, uh, operational experience, fixing, building, all sorts of things, which goes a lot deeper than just the tech side. But I also spent about 10 years building websites and multimedia. Um, and I was building websites for Billabong actually in about year 2000. We pioneered webcasting and all sorts of things. So I've been involved with tech businesses for well over 20 years as well. So yeah, combined experience of the vessel operations management, construction with the understanding of technology, which has sort of brought me to develop Boatingo, which is an evolution of all that experience, I guess. So yeah, that's it in
Yeah.
a nutshell.
So you've been in the industry for your entire life.
Pretty
Um,
much.
so you know the ins and outs. You're
Yeah.
probably one of the foremost experts on this space and how the two worlds intertwine. So tell us about Boatingo. What is it? As a customer, what does that look like? Give us the insight.
Okay, so Boatingo was sort of born of the understanding that charter vessels is nothing like aeroplanes and cars and other things that are automated and bookings and booking a hotel, of course. So yeah, you don't have real time availability. You don't have instant bookings, um, and people expect that, right? The consumers expect that. So that was basically looking around in Sydney Harbour and seeing that there was 100 boats available on any given weekend, Saturday morning. How do you find what's available at what price? And so that was the problem, and solving the problem meant building a website, an application, or something where at least the boat owner would share the calendar availability, so that we're getting we could get at least closer to an instant booking. So that was the premise of Boatingo. So I approached the founders of Hotels Combined, raised some seed capital back in 2015, and developed the MVP, or the minimal viable product, which has evolved a little over the last sort of couple of years. It was a little bit early into the marketplace. It's taken a while, sort of like 10 years almost, for the industry to catch up and to share their calendar, but that's becoming mainstream now that most boats are at least displaying their calendar, in some markets, Europe, for example, they accept the instant booking, and the platforms have become way more sophisticated. So we're a little bit early out of the gate, but the market's now there, and Asia I see is potentially there. It's a very fast growing market here, and I've been watching it carefully the last few months, and it was always the premise to build the thing out in Australia and then expand through the APAC, and that's where we've done. That's where we've been. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So you're currently sitting in Thailand. You've expanded into Southeast Asia. You see there's a massive opportunity. So tell us about the milestones you've achieved.
Okay, so we've done about 1 million or 1.6 million bookings spread out over those years. I personally manage a lot of the bookings, but we do have I have staff and people that were trained to do this. It was just about accuracy and getting to understand the markets. So the traction and the milestones are, we started with 50 boats. We now have 200 in 5 different countries. So we're in Singapore, Thailand, Phuket, expanding here into Pattaya. We have vessels in Bali and in Labuan Bajo, which is near Flores in Indonesia. Fiji is a market I understand very well. I've spent 10 years there myself, so we have a good niche understanding. And obviously the east coast of Australia, from Sydney through to Whitsundays, Cairns, Gold Coast, and Port Douglas areas, we have vessels as well as Pittwater. So we're in 5 countries and 10 destinations. So I've got to understand the different dynamics of all those different markets and how they work, from water taxis right up to super yachts. So have a very, very good overview myself, obviously, of how things work. And then there's different market segments like fishing and diving and surfing, which I understand as well. So there's a lot to know actually on how to do this, and then to obviously automate the process, so there's not too much heavy lifting involved in converting bookings. So we do have some automation in the platform. We actually repurposed a hotel reservation site, which is what the current iteration of Boatingo is, and we plan to rebuild that shortly, and we have built prototypes already of a vessel management app which pushes the images and the rates and the data to the website, and then we have some plans for the new iteration of the website to be, it can be white labeled by other vessel operators. We'll be able to share their calendar. They can plug that into different platforms and OTAs, for example. So all this stuff is rapidly evolving. So it's a good. It's good we didn't build the thing 2 years ago, because the technology would nearly be old. So I've kept abreast of the technology, understand where it's all going. I've seen there's some advanced systems being built in Europe, for example. Europe is actually 7% of the charter. North America being only 20% of charter business, which doesn't sound right, but that's how it sort of stacks up. So that's the experience and the knowledge that I've gained in these past 10 years of testing and researching different markets, and how that's all going to play out in the next few years will be very interesting, especially with rapid growth in Asia, which is amazing. There's 1.5 billion Chinese and the same amount of Indians moving around in Asia here, and different levels of wealth. So just for example, Bangkok's 15 million people an hour away from here, and there's a lot of wealth there. So actually, they survived through COVID with local trade. So they don't necessarily need tourism, which is kind of interesting in Asia. Same with Indonesia, and Australia as well. We saw a tourism boom through COVID. People bought boats, put them into syndicates, started chartering them, started using vessels more because they couldn't travel overseas. That's changed a bit, obviously, because people can now travel. Well, now they're moving through Asia, or they're going to Europe for holidays and everything else. But overall, boating, as an experience, or you could call it a luxury experience, has been growing worldwide in the last 2 or 3 years, especially through COVID, because it was seen as an escape. It's been good for business, actually.
Yeah, awesome. So that tailors into the raise. How much are you raising, and what's the use of funds?
Okay, so we plan to raise $1 million on a $5 million val. That's Australian dollars. Use of funds, pretty much, a simple third split on building. Or there's that money wouldn't be spent up front. But yeah, building a new platform application which has been prototyped, so we don't have to redesign anything, and then the same amount of money on marketing and admin, and then the same amount in operational expense. So it's roughly broken down in thirds in those three categories.
Yeah. Okay. And you know the what you're building in terms of the platform that's robust, does that help you scale throughout Asia? And then is there a plan to scale that outside of Asia Pacific?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the platform would scale easily through this region from the existing 200 vessels to say 2,000. But there's APIs and inventory that we can plug into globally. With that system, which could quickly become global and go to 20,000 vessels plus.
Yeah.
In 20 plus countries. So yeah, the fencing off this, being just tapping into this region while there's this rapid growth is interesting. But sure, I mean, people say from Europe, Australians may travel to the States, or they may go to Europe for a holiday. So we want to take advantage of our customer moving around the the planet, essentially trying different locations out. So sure, yeah, global players is on the cards.
Yeah. Okay. I won't take up too much more of your time, but this is a very interesting space. I think the marketplace platforms are, there's a lot of growth in this sector because, like you said, people want, instant results, instant access. They want to be able to book something now. They don't want to send inquiries and wait, 1 to 2 business days for a response. They want to book it. They want to book it now, and they want to, that surety, especially when they're traveling internationally, and they want to book everything now. Like you can book hotels, you can book flights, you should be able to book charters. So I think it's a very interesting space. I'm interested in the next steps of the round. Any investors who are watching this video and want to know more, please reach out to my team, and we can connect you directly through to Adam.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to chat, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Excellent. Thanks for your time, Daniel. Take
No
care.
worries.